Um, Just welcome back to the Wexford Screen Writers Academy showcase, and this is a Bodecii Film Screen Wexford and Wexford County Council initiative, which is funded by Creative Ireland and Screen Ireland.
In 2021, 12 new Wexford writers were selected for Phase 1 of the inaugural Wexford Screen Writers Academy to create 12 original scripts for television broadcast through our unique scripting programme.
All 12 writers finished with full scripts and that they can now further develop with producers and directors, and they now have samples of the work for the industry.
8 scripts were then selected to move into Phase 2, a professional script development for a commercial anthology series titled Menapia.
The 12 original writers took part in masterclasses with industry experts, including producers of Young Offenders that work with Channel 5, Virgin Media, RTE, development executives from Peaky Blinders, and former head of drama, BBC Drama and Channel 4 Drama, John York, as well as agents, commissioners and representatives of the Writers Guild. After the 8 writers were selected, 8 scripts were then selected to move into Phase 2, and they're uniquely dark and different tales firmly rooted in their homeland of Wexford.
So tonight we present a reading of some sample scenes as a celebration of their work, read by our esteemed actors
Kieran Messett, Alicia Jarrard, Gary Lydon, Claire O'Donovan and Ronan P. Byrne.
And now to our readings.
First up, Ford.
By Abigail Way.
93-year-old Harold, a celebrated archaeologist, has begun a process, the beginning of the end. In order to achieve his goal, he calculatedly recruits Davin. He's 10 years old and his neighbour, and he's manipulating him and gaining his trust.
When Harry tries to steal a painted rock, Ali, his neighbour, is called to take him home. Ali's son, Davin, becomes curious about this barge-dwelling neighbour, and Harry starts to lure him into his web.
Interior, exterior. Ali's car, same evening, May 23rd. Harold's hand writes and circles the date onto a scrawl and sketch-crowded notebook page. It fades into Ali, 43, drives Harold home in strained silence. A carer by nature and profession, she's frayed a little beyond her years, her pleasant features touched by the strain of desertion.
You're not family then? Next to kin?
In a rear-view mirror, a young passenger rides incognito, a black ninja balaclava obscuring his features.
Neighbour, that's all.
Ali mouths sorry to him. Davin, 10, bright, chaotic, but shrouded by the sorrow of their shared loss, scowls hard, then breaks the act, giving her a big thumbs up. She knows he puts on a brave face, but he's struggling like her.
We don't know him.
Harold huddles, a trickle of blood escaping his clenched left fist. Landscape sweeps past. His breath fogs the window. Fade to. Exterior, barge, same evening, a short time later. Through thick lake mist, Harold shuffles from a secluded shoreline onto a dilapidated jetty. Tethered there, an ancient barge, barely afloat on the still water. She tilts curiously to the starboard side, scrappage material cluttering her deck. Harold embarks, slots the key into the lock. From the car, Ali watches. She doesn't want to know the answer.
Do you have anyone?
Harold struggles, jiggling the key.
Mr. Erickson.
A buzzard flies low overhead, crying. The key turns.
You know, you can't stay here.
Harold disappears into darkness, slamming the door. Pinned to it, a fluttering eviction notice. Effective June 18th. It tears away, flying over green forest, blue lake, jewel-like in amber evening sun. Interior, Davin's home, kitchen, same evening, continued, sunset.
Set the table there, Davy.
Davin begins the task, making sure to set a place for Grandpa, a ritual that concerns Ali.
Davin, honey, we talked about this.
Don't even say anything, Mama. I'm not doing it. It's not even for me. It's for him.
Okay, but... Anyway, yeah, his books. They're all history, archaeology.
Ali passes 3 glasses to Davin to set.
Dinosaur bones?
Well, maybe. But more so, people stuff. Artifacts, you know, like old swords and coins, an ancient pottery from the Bronze Age.
Ah, nice.
Ali begins to dish up dinner.
Yeah. I think he was a kind of celebrity of ancient discoveries. Imagine the life he had, all over the world. In Egypt, digging up Cleopatra's old gold bracelets.
Did he?
Well, maybe not Cleo's accoutrements, but pretty important stuff.
Riches beyond belief.
I suppose so. Treasures. You never know what could be on that barge under all that junk.
Davin's eyes light up. Ali opens a tub of tuna and mayo. Cut to interior barge, earlier that day, present. Harold pops the lid off another box, a swaddled object inside. His surroundings look busy, preparatory.
How old is he, Mum?
Oh, easily 100.
A glimpse of old gold as he lifts the swaddled item delicately out. Cut to interior, Davin's home kitchen, same.
Well, that's why he's so peed off then. At least Grandpa didn't get too old to have fun.
A little taken aback, Ali contemplates the theory.
I suppose. It's hard to know exactly why Mr. Eriksson is peed off. I think he was really something, Dav, back in the day. But he's a bit of a mystery now. No friends, no family. Maybe he's lonely.
A pause. Davin considers as he loads his fork.
Like me.
Ali freezes mid-bite. Tears well spontaneously. Davin shovels another baby potato into his mouth. Exterior, barge, next evening, June 1st. Harold circles the date. It fades to, on deck, Harold and Davin categorize scrap metals at the table. Bundles of dried grass and twig kindling lay at their feet.
Would you like to learn how to hunt for treasure, Davin?
Davin looks up at him, eyes wide. Harold holds his gaze.
You have great potential. No, I needn't tell you that. I would be willing, honoured, to mentor you. Of course, if the prospect doesn't interest you,
No, it does. It most definitely does.
then you are agreeable to my proposal.
I am agreeable. I agree.
Harold plays it up, leaning in and holding eye contact.
The knowledge I will impart requires great presence of mind to employ appropriately and effectively. Are you prepared to take on the responsibility?
I am. Yes.
Are you willing to commit to the terms of the treasure seeker's bond, an alliance of secrecy?
What does that mean?
Harold leans in closer to him, bringing on the intrigue.
No one must know of us, Davin. Not all can understand the seeker's wisdoms, our ways. You must give me your oath.
Davin is suddenly hesitant.
Well, do I have your word?
It's just me and Mum. We have a deal. No secrets.
Your mother has secrets, Davin. They are inevitable.
Davin is silent.
Unavoidable, but not always unenviable. Some spectacular institutions have been built on a foundation of secrets.
Davin stalls. Harold plays hard by playing nice.
But I would never pressurize you, Davin. Perhaps it's better to stay in the dark. In any case, I had always thought since Harry that I would take my wisdoms to the grave. So be it.
Davin is torn, tested by the dilemma. He shifts uneasily.
I should turn in for the evening. A sudden chill, I fear.
Harold rises to leave. Davin hangs his head. As Harold shuffles off, Davin looks at the Viking pendant replica still on the deck table.
Wait! Mr. Eriksson,
Harold turns to him.
I would like you to teach me.
Silence. Harold examines Davin, pretend gauging.
Please?
Do you accept my terms?
I accept.
Harold pauses for dramatic effect, as if considering.
Then tomorrow we begin.
Harold holds out his hand to seal the deal. Davin reciprocates and finds the replica pressed into his palm.
It's yours.
Harold leans into him with a finger on his lips.
Shh.
In cahoots, Davin raises his fingers to his lips and smiles.
Thanks, guys. Really lovely read. Is there anyone else out there that wants to come in the middle of all this? Jesus. Anyway. Next. In Red Boots by Chris O'Connor, an aspiring politician, Jessica Flynn, is running for election when she is involved in the hit and run of a child. It sends her spiraling out of control. as she tries to keep her secret from a prying journalist, Laura.
In this excerpt, the child's mother, Niamh, is frantically looking for her child while Jessica is in a mad panic, not knowing what to do as she stares at her damaged SUV.
Exterior halting site, evening. Niamh is frantically rushing around, holding her toddler and shouting for her daughter Lucy. Paddy, her husband, runs up to her.
I can't find her down the lane.
God, where is she? Where is she?
We'll find her. She'll be okay. I'll get the lads, everyone. We'll find her.
Exterior country road, evening. Jessica is standing at the front of her SUV. The engine is running and the headlights are on. She's looking at the bonnet. The driver's side headlight is cracked. The bonnet is scratched and dented in several places. The front grille is busted and dried blood is coated to the vehicle in multiple spots. With a cloth, she begins wiping it down. Tears well in her eyes as she does so.
Hello there.
Jessica visibly jumps at the sound of this voice, dropping the cloth in the process. She swiftly spins around to see Seamus, 60s, approaching through the field on a rickety bicycle. His cycling is unsteady, veering lazily from left to right. He pulls up just short of her, a wide smile across his face.
Oh. Hi, Seamus. How are you?
Sure, not a bother. Not a bother.
Good.
Seamus sways gently back and forth. Jessica tries to obscure as much of the bonnet as she can with her body.
So what brings you out here?
Oh, you know,
Seamus' eyes move past Jessica to the SUV, to the cracks and dents. He takes a few shaky steps forward. His expression grows concerned.
So were you in an accident?
Jessica turns to look at the damage, then back to Seamus. She readjusts her body again to try cover it up.
a little scrape is all.
Jeez. You okay, love?
Yeah, fine. I'm fine, thanks.
Do you need a hand? I can get John Dunbar's son out here. He can give you a once-over, tow you if you need.
No, really, it's fine.
You sure? It's no bother, like, I can...
I said it's fine.
Seamus is slightly taken aback. His eyes again move past Jessica and scan the SUV. They stop when he looks at the passenger side headlight. Jessica notices this, turns to see what he's looking at. Blood.
I hit a dog. Just, it came out right in front of me.
Oh, jeez. That's not your fault. These things happen. Are you sure you don't need any help, like?
I'm sure. I just need a few minutes.
All right, so I leave you be then. God bless.
He waves and sets off on his way through the field, again drifting from side to side. He rings the bicycle bell several times as he disappears into the distance. Exterior country road evening. Niamh and Paddy are running along the road.
Lucy?
Lucy, where are you?
Lucy?
Up here, quickly, quickly! The voice shouts from up ahead. Paddy and Lucy immediately set off towards it. As they close in, they can see a huddle of people, some of them crying, others walking away with their head in their hands. Niamh and Paddy push through the crowd frantically. The people part like the Red Sea to reveal a grassy ditch. Close on Niamh's face, the blood runs from it. Her eyes grow wide. Pain is etched into every feature. Her mouth opens and a blood-curdling primal shriek rings out. Exterior Flynn house, night. Jessica's SUV pulls in and heads straight for the garage. Interior garage, Flynn house, continuous. Jessica gets out of the SUV. She finds a large tarp and pulls it over the vehicle. Interior hallway, Flynn house, night. Jessica closes the front door behind her. She takes a moment to compose herself. Her breathing is rapid. She rushes down the hall. Tom appears from a doorway, bowl of popcorn under his arm.
Movie night? You want to join?
Jessica blows by her husband. Tears streaming. Tom looked confused, concerned.
Jess?
Ensuite, Jessica and Tom's bedroom. Jessica closes the door behind her, locks it. She paces the small room, breathing out of control, mumbling something quietly to herself. She ducks out to the sink and splashes water on her face multiple times. She kneels down at the toilet, sweeps her hair back, and puts 2 fingers down her throat. She dry heaves, then vomits. Tom starts knocking on the door.
Jess, you okay?
Footsteps lead away. Sorry.
Just leave me alone. Please.
Footsteps lead away. She hangs her head over the toilet bowl. Tears and saliva drip into the water below. Mascara runs down her face. Cut to morning. Sunlight beams onto the bed. Jessica stirs. It looks like hammered shit. She glances at the bedside clock. 9:30 a.m.
Oh, shit.
Hallway. She walks down the hallway.
Tom? Ava? Guys?
The house is eerily silent until a thunderous knocking on the door shatters the calm. Jessica instantly freezes, a deer in the headlights. The knocking continues. She drops to her knees and crawls towards the front door. The knocking gets louder, impossibly loud. Just as Jessica reaches the front door, it stops. Complete silence again. She hears a footstep crunch on the gravel, leading away from the door. She peers through the glass panel at the side of the door. Her POV. A man is walking back to his van. He has Paul's Repair Services painted across the side of it. Jessica pulls back the panel from the panel, breathes a sigh of relief. Kitchen. She has her phone to her ear.
Alexis, was it?
Interior Morris's car, morning. Morris, her election agent, is driving. Jessica is zoned out in the passenger seat.
Yeah, it went really well yesterday. You did really good.
He looks over to her. His smile dissipates. She's staring straight ahead.
Jess? Everything okay?
Yeah. Fine.
Morris glances between her and the road, a quizzical look on his face. Exterior country road, morning. A bevy of Garda cars and technical bureau vehicles litter the road. A small crowd of locals have gathered. An old, spluttering hatchback pulls up. Laura, 20s, journalist, hops out and walks up to the cordon. Several officers are milling about, Robbie among them. She gives him a wave. He nods at her and leaves the cordon. They walk away from the scene. Laura has her notebook and pen out.
What do we know?
Young girl, 6 or 7, knocked down, killed, hit and run.
Jesus. Any leads?
Not yet. Working on it.
Who's the girl? Local?
Sort of. She's from the Halton site down the road.
Traveller?
Lucy Dundon. Parents are Neve and can't remember the father's name.
Where are they?
At the station, giving statements. It was rough.
Anything else?
No. Well, one thing actually. Found a sheet of paper. Had a bunch of writing on it. Not really legible, except for one bit.
What did it say?
Something about community, pulling together. Can't really remember. Could be nothing. So, see you tonight.
Laura finishes writing in her notebook and snaps it closed.
Sure.
Interior Wexford Guardian offices, evening. Laura is working at her desk. There's a radio near her.
And coming up, we'll be speaking to Solicitor Jessica Flynn on her run for local office.
Kieran, the radio host, adjusts some sliders on the expensive-looking console in front of him. Sitting across from him is Jessica. There's a mic in front of her, headphones on her ears. Behind her, the on-air signalling light glows, red. A woman makes some adjustments to Jessica's setup, then gives Kieran a thumbs up and leaves the room. Morris, in the adjoining production room, watches through a glass partition. Kieran leans in towards his mic.
Thanks for being here, Jessica. Before we get into the political talk, we'd be remiss not to speak on the news, the very tragic news, that a young girl lost her life yesterday evening in what appears to be a hit-and-run incident. Just absolutely tragic. As a prominent member of the community, what are your thoughts on this, and is there anything you'd like to say on this matter?
A suffocating silence ensues. Jessica doesn't move for several moments. She shoots a glance to Morris.
Come on, Jesse, roll with it.
She slowly leans towards the mic.
Well, it's obviously incredibly sad.
Morris winces.
I'm at a loss for words, really.
She reaches for the bottle of water beside her, takes a swig.
What about the person who did this? What would you say to them?
She stops drinking, puts the bottle back slowly, eyes now glazed with a 1,000-yard stare.
I'd urge them to turn themselves in.
And what about the family? Anything you'd like to say to them? Now, as a mother yourself, this must hit particularly close to home.
Silence, prolonged, painful, agonizing.
Yes, I just can't imagine what they're going through right now. It breaks my heart.
As an important member of that community, it's crucial they know that you're on their side, right?
Yeah, I'm here for them, whatever they need.
She guzzles more water.
Thank you for that. Now, let's talk about...
Kieran's voice becomes white noise as we slowly zoom on Jessica.
Well done, everyone. Haven by Roberto Forte is set a few years into the future, where each night Anna plugs herself into the Haven console. Like a billion others, she rents her grey matter out to the corporate entity. However, her console's on its last legs. It's glitching and her pre-programmed memories are fading.
In the following scene, Anna is under suspicion from Haven of tampering with her console and risks being disconnected, so she goes to a backstreet technician for help. Then, having been purged of the virus hack, disorientated and dishevelled, she faces her AI liaison, Lennon. Finally, Anna tries to explain to her daughter Becky why Haven is so important.
Interior walk-in freezer. Moments later, Anna steps inside. One of the walls is covered in shelves upon shelves of black containers. He walks past them over to the corner, stops at a makeshift lab. Bunsen burners, incubators, coolers, fume hoods, and of course, chemicals. He starts selecting ingredients, apparatus. He saunters over to a tarp and pulls it off a dank-looking seat. Could be a Victorian dentist's chair or even a decommissioned electric chair.
Sit.
Anna dips into the seat while he blends chemicals in a beaker, fires up a burner, and pours some of the concoction into a beaker and boils it until it resembles tar.
Yeah, we'd usually have a bit more notice. Don't have that luxury right now, so we're gonna have to up the dosage.
Without warning, he slings an arm restraint around Anna's wrist, tethers her to the seat.
Considerably.
Pulls the strap tighter, then does the same to her other arm. Stretches the leather binder so tight the veins in her forearm bulge.
Now listen very, very carefully. Do not go in for your bloods until the very last second. I mean the last one. Nod if you understand.
Although frozen with fear, she manages some kind of a nod. He walks behind her, talks to her while tinkering away.
Don't give those liaisons anything. I mean, don't blink out of step, don't breathe, swallow like. There's 1 billion plus brains in there. You're an amoeba to him. Understand?
She can hear him fumbling away behind her. Anna's hands are turning red, purple. Her bounds cut off her blood supply to her fingers.
I've never seen a jump in numbers like that, and neither have they.
Anna's petrified. The whites of her eyes have never been so large, her heart so fast.
Why is this happening to me?
He rattles away behind her, mixing, scraping. Then he undoes his belt, pulls it free from his trousers.
Please, I don't have much time.
Finally, he walks back into her line of sight, belt in hand. He uses it to pin Anna's head to the chair, pulls it even tighter than her arm restraints.
Never had to inject that much into such a pretty eye before, though.
He stares into her eyes, uses his thumb and index finger to widen her ocular cavity, shines a light into her pupil. He lifts a syringe full of the dark solution and holds the needle only millimeters from her watering eye. He leans in and whispers in her ear.
No turning back. This should purge the hack, but I don't know what else it will do.
Before she even has time to register what he's saying or change her mind, he lifts a syringe full of the dark solution. Her legs kick as he depresses the plunger. The solution travels fast. Even the veins in her forearm turn back as the solution races around her body, away from ground zero. She convulses, shakes so violently that her chair, bolted to the fridge floor, nearly rattles free. Her restraints struggle to hold her down.
Last thing, in the unlikely event that you manage to survive this, I never want to see you again.
Anna blacks out. Scene 2, okay. In interior office, Haven headquarters, day. A nurse draws blood from Anna's forearm as she sits across for Lennon. He asked Anna some loaded questions.
If a door simply appeared and you could walk through and you would have never existed, no consequences, no pain, would you enter?
He waits for Anna's reply.
Are you asking me if I would kill myself?
Is that what you believe I am asking?
No, I wouldn't walk through.
The liaison looks at her for an uncomfortably long period.
Have you witnessed objects flicker, shimmer in a manner they would not usually do so? The colloquial term, I believe, is known as rifting.
Anna shakes her head.
Please verbalize your response.
No.
Have you ever experienced any such hallucinations, auditory, sensory, or visual?
Anna shakes her head again. A look from Lennon reminds her to answer aloud.
No.
Any time dilation, loss of time, blackouts?
She tries to listen as he drones on. Inside, Anna's doing all she can to hold it together. Interior, Anna's kitchen, night. Becky kneels on a seat at the kitchen table, marker in hand. She's drawing on a few sheets of paper. Anna peeks over her shoulder. Child's drawing of dozens of people lying on pedestals in a big room.
What are you drawing?
My class project about heaven.
You mean Haven?
Becky nods and continues to colour in her drawing.
Miss Casey said there is a really, really big room where people go to sleep for years and years. Billy's daddy is sleeping in there.
Becky keeps her eyes on the page and draws a little more.
Are you going to sleep there?
I'd never leave you like that.
But you work every night now, more and more, all the time.
That's why I'm getting more shifts at Cappuccino's. So I don't have to be in Haven so much.
Alison's mom said Haven made her hairdresser crazy.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true, honey.
But you don't know what they're doing to you, to your brain while you're asleep.
Anna slides in beside her little girl.
What else did Alison's mom say?
That when you're in there, you aren't able to dream.
Well, that's not exactly right.
Becky keeps drawing.
Imagine you had these amazing memories, ones you loved so much. You could watch them again and again, and every time it felt like the first time. Would that be so bad?
Becky shakes her head but doesn't take her hand off the marker and keeps colouring.
Well, it is kind of like that in Haven. They record our memories, and we get to watch them each night, like a dream.
Mine any of your dreams?
Of course.
Daddy?
Anna hesitates just a second too long. Finally, she nods.
Did Alison's mum tell you why so many people in the world work for Haven? Why we connect every night?
She said it was an
She struggles to spit out the adult word.
Economic decision. And a poor one.
Anna takes a deep breath, bites her lip, and Becky colours again.
It's not all about money. Well, not all about money.
Anna thinks, how does she explain it all to a 6-year-old?
See, long before you were born, when I was a little girl, like you are now, a lot of people started to get sick, very sick. And nobody had ever seen a bug like this virus, the thing that made them ill.
Anna lifts Becky onto her lap.
It kept changing and changing, so we could never figure out how to make a medicine for it. Then one day, a really, really smart person decided to build a computer that was clever enough to make the new medicine that would kill the bug, this bacteria. But the computers back then just weren't fast enough to keep up with the ever-changing bug. So an even smarter person found an even better computer. You know where?
Where?
Anna points at Becky's temple.
Right in here. See, nature had already been developing the best computers for millions of years, but nobody knew how to make it work at its best. But one computer wasn't enough. He had to connect hundreds, and then thousands.
Anna picks up a marker and she draws a line from one sleeping person to another, connecting all the heads in the picture that Becky had drawn.
Then millions and millions of little computers to make one big one that was smarter than the virus, smarter than the disease. A computer that could know what the disease was going to do before it did.
Is the bug gone?
Well, it's never going away. But we're ready now. And because there are 1 billion of us working together, we can stop it before it ever hurts anyone ever again.
1 billion people?
Mm-hmm.
Then I think they won't miss one.
Thanks, guys. That was a great read. Thanks very much. Moving swiftly along. Next is A Place Called Paradise by Max O'Brien. It tells the tale of Joey and Annie Murphy, struggle to stay afloat in the wake of a tragic accident. Under the suffocating weight of grief, their marriage, once so buoyant, now drags them slowly beneath the waves.
Matters reach breaking point when Annie believes that Joe is seeing his mistress, Nancy, again. Joe is completely oblivious as he arrives home.
Interior, Joe's truck parked, evening. Joe's truck grinds to a halt on the gravel of the driveway. Dashboard. On it sits a box of chocolates. As the engine is killed, the barking hits. Joe winces. Cut to exterior Murphy House driveway moments later. Joe steps out. The Boorman dog stalks him along the dividing fence, barking all the way. Joe opens the front door, disappearing inside. Move to interior Murphy House evening. Joe pushes the door firmly shut. The barking stops. Joe sighs with relief, shoulders dropping as some of the tension leaves him. He takes a beat. Close up. A knife. It slices through a carrot with ease. Annie is chopping. Beside her on the counter is a selection of already diced root vegetables. She's laser focused on the job. Joe places the box of chocolates beside her. She continues chopping.
What do you expect me to do with those?
Joe is already moving around the kitchen, removing cutlery from the drawer as he makes to set the table.
What do you mean?
Close up, Annie closes her eyes. She inhales deeply. Shot on the knife, starts chopping again, faster now. Joe watches Annie's back, eyebrows raised.
The woman in the shop said those were her favourite, so I figured they were safe bet.
Annie's chopping intensifies.
Well, why don't you just give them to her then?
Look, if you want me to get different ones, I'll get you different ones. I can go back right now.
Close up, Joe's eyes widening. He flinches back, putting his hands up instinctively. The knife whizzes across the room, a mile wide, but in his general direction.
Jesus Christ, are you trying to kill me, woman?
Shot the knife. It wobbles where it's lodged in the wall. Annie, now bright red with rage.
I'd have hit you if that was the case, wouldn't I?
In spite of himself, a smile steals across his face.
I think it's more an issue of accuracy.
Annie screams. She picks up a handful of chopped veg and launches it at Joe. This time, Annie's aim is true as Joe is pelted with a hail of julienne carrots.
You think this is funny?
Annie,
She hurls more carrots. He shields himself as they bounce harmlessly off him.
Everything. Everything I do for you. Everything I've done for you.
Another handful of carrot confetti sails through the air. Against his best efforts, Joe bursts out laughing.
All right, Annie, all right. What's this about? I only got them for you because I thought you'd like them.
This time, Annie laughs incredulously.
The chocolates. Forget the fucking chocolates, Joe. Jesus Christ. Here.
Annie picks up the chocolates and drops them in the bin. A harsh bark. The Boorman dog has started again.
I don't want your guilt relief anyway.
Guilt relief? What the fuck are you talking about, guilt relief?
Don't. Don't start with me, Joe. I can't believe a word you say.
What? What are you talking about?
Stop.
She frantically sweeps the remaining carrots onto the floor.
You're lying.
In the silence, the Boorman's dog, booming bark, louder, tears well in Annie's eyes, and despite herself, she starts to cry. Joe doesn't know what to say.
Oh, fuck it.
The silence is unbearable. The dog keeps barking.
Please. Please, Joe.
Okay. I'm sorry about the chocolates and for how I've been lately.
Oh my God. You don't even know.
Joe, struggling to think over the sound of the Boerman dog barking incessant, louder and louder.
I'm trying to make this better. I thought things had been good lately, a bit better than in a long time.
Then just say it.
But
I knew this was a mistake. I knew that dinner was a mistake.
Joe desperately tries to reel the conversation back as it spirals away from him.
Say what? Please, just tell me what to say and I'll say it.
The barking carries over everything. Joe, exasperated, walks to the window and shuts it. Shot on the window pane, a crusty handprint of dried blood stains the glass. Joe stares at it. The noise cuts through.
Don't you get it? After everything, you're not going to change. You'll never change.
Annie turns away from him, shaking, shivering. She can't bring herself to look at him.
Annie, please. Please, Annie, look, will you just talk to me, please? Will you just talk to me? Oh, if I could just think for a second.
Always an excuse. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. You have a fucking gift.
More and more squawking from the chickens, the barking, louder and closer.
I think you're going to leave, Joe.
Annie, no.
Bark, squawk.
Space might help us. Might be good for us. For you. Maybe I put too much pressure on you. Maybe I expected too much. It's my fault because we've both been through so much since...
Joe, for the first time, tears welling in his eyes.
Annie, please, Annie, don't.
Flash cut. Exterior, harbour, jetty, early morning. Shot in the golden light, Charlie, cherubic, smiling, standing at the bottom of the gangway leading on to the Lady Annie, his hair glowing in the sun. Shot, Charlie's tiny hand as it extends towards us, beckoning Joe to follow him, a whispered word on the breeze.
Dada, are you coming?
Joe wrenching himself back. Interior Murphy house, kitchen, continuous. Bark, bark, squawk, squawk, squawk.
Please, Annie.
Since Charlie,
Don't.
Since we lost him.
Flash cut to external sea, morning. We're sucked under. A great wave crashes over our heads, frothing, foaming around us. Bubbles break everywhere in great plumes, like swathes of white smoke in the writhing, turbulent, grey-blue water. We break through the surface, a single desperate rasping gasp for air. Rough, calloused hands extend before us as a rope recedes through scrabbling fingers. Joe cries out in an effort to hold on. Close up, the rope runs on through desperate hands. A child's distressed screams echo on the air, reverberating, choking, pleading.
Dada!
And a man's voice bellows in anguish.
Charlie! No!
Cut to interior Murphy house, kitchen, continuous. Silence. A dog barks. And the barking and squawking is louder than ever amidst it all, the sound of a young boy crying.
Annie, please.
No, it's too late, Joe.
No, I won't let this happen.
Joe.
No, Annie.
Pause. Suddenly, strangely, there is silence. At the peak of the crescendoing noise and tension, a frozen second of silence. The dog and chickens have stopped. Stillness.
From the beginning, it was your fault. All of it, everything.
The dog barks. The cacophony begins anew. Joe snaps. Joe goes into the back room and comes out with a shotgun. Annie goes white, screaming. She tries and fails to wrestle it off him.
Joe, what are you doing? Joe! No, don't. Joe, please. Stop.
Shot, Annie fills the doorway, blocking his way. He is too strong for her. He pulls her aside. She tries to hold him back, gripping his arm. He shoves her off, barely hearing her. In the doorway, she grabs hold of him from behind. In the effort of freeing him, his arm, he violently rips backwards. Crack! The butt of the rifle smacks back into Annie's face with a sickening crack. She falls back, her hand clutching her eye. Joe doesn't even notice. He steps out. He sees nothing but red. Cut 2. External, Murphy House, kitchen, backyard, continuous. The barking is incessant. The chickens, a young boy crying. It's deafening. We are twitching. The backyard is dark, illuminated by the light inside. Annie lies prone in the open doorway. More barking, more crying. A boy's voice, screaming for his father to help him. Cries and barking blend, louder and louder and louder. Then, bang! Shot to the window pane. A flash of light illuminates the bloody handprint on the glass. A final whimper of the dog or of a child. The gunshot rings out into the deafening silence. Cut 2. Interior Murphy House, kitchen, continuous. Piercing white noise works its way deep into the hollows of our eardrums. Joe slides the kitchen door shut behind him. He sees Annie in a heap on the tiled floor. He frowns, confused, not comprehending. He looks at his hands and the gun in them, and the woman he loves, curled up on the floor, blood pumping from her face. Close up, Joe's hands. He drops the gun. Clack. Cold steel comes into contact with the hard tile. Like a zombie, Joe moves across the room. The ringing in our ears rages on, relentless. Interior Murphy House, hall, continuous. We see calloused, trembling fingers reach out. The fingers come to a stop. Hovering over a telephone handset, they dial 999. Silence.
Thank you. In Pamper Me by Emma Quigley, bubbly beautician Sally Ann Sparkle Stafford, early 30s, has the perfect life. Owner of a successful mobile beautician business and married to her childhood sweetheart and hurling superstar husband Robbie, early 30s. They are the posh and becks of the seaside village of Rosslare. However, inwardly, Sally Ann grapples with the constant industry pressure to look wrinkle-free and Instagram perfect.
In this excerpt, Sally Ann and Robbie have just won the annual novelty race, as they do every year. The prize is a hamper, but Sally is still feeling a little mortified that she was caught with a sale tag on her shorts. Meanwhile, Robbie has just learned that he's losing his place on the hurling team to a younger player.
Exterior, pitch, Rosslare village, minutes later. Robbie is rummaging through the hamper. Sally Ann walks up to him, now wearing a flowing boho chic dress and sun hat.
Alcohol water. Who drinks this crap? Actually, sounds right up your street. 0 calories.
He offers the hard seltzer to Sally Ann, who shakes her head.
What are you doing?
Looking for a beer for the walk to the pub.
Robbie pulls out a naggin of premium whiskey. He shrugs, opens it and takes a massive glug. Then he stuffs it into his shorts pocket and picks up the hamper. They walk together. Then Sally Ann begins to veer off in a different direction.
Where are you going? Hold on, you're hardly going home. You're all dressed up.
I had to get out of those leggings.
Sally Ann glances around her and smooths down the dress as if people are watching and she has a standard to maintain. Robbie throws the hamper down.
Oh, God, let me guess. Your precious 8 hours sleep. Oh, come on, Sal, we've not gone to the Marquee for years. It'll be a laugh.
You usually have a match the next day.
In fact, I can't remember the last time we went out together, full stop. One night won't kill you, will it? Just show what a cucumber under your eyes tomorrow. Didn't Maggie Thatcher famously survive in 4 hours sleep and she ran a whole country?
Clean sleep is vital. I've told you before, 8 hours minimum. Maggie Thatcher, I'm trying to sell treatments, not scare people away.
Sally Ann turns and walks off. Robbie stares after her. Robbie turns to leave and trips over the hamper.
Aren't you forgetting something?
Exterior, pitch, Rosslare village, day. Unsightly purple-red spider veins. The veins inflate suddenly, then retract like a beating heart exposed during surgery. We hear quick, forced breathing. Pull out and we see that we are looking through a handheld mirror. The veins belong to a puffed-out cheek, inflamed, glistening with sweat, streaked with cheap, caked foundation. A pudgy finger appears. It blends foundation with sweat droplets in an attempt to hide the red veins. Suddenly, a hand with perfectly sculpted acrylic nails presses the mirror shut, gentle but firm. The hand belongs to Sally Ann.
2 magic words. Laser therapy. Told you before, Moll. We can zap those veins away.
We see the owner of the red cheek, Molly Latimer, early 60s. A good egg who tries to look fashionable but often tends to miss the mark. Molly's face is caked in heavy makeup, giving her skin an all-round, peculiar, crepey look.
What was I thinking? Sprinting at my age. I'm getting on.
You're fitter than me.
Today is the youngest you'll ever be. Inspirationalquotes.com.
Next time you're in for a lip wax, I'll explain the laser to you. We'll get you started on it. You'll feel so much better.
Perhaps you're right. The foundation won't cover them anymore. Maybe I need to join the queue over there.
We follow Molly's gaze to where a young woman, Kath Maguire, late 20s, dressed as a clown with a colourful wig and is dressed as a clown with a colourful wig and neon rose cheeks. Kath is enthusiastically painting children's faces. Beside her, a bunch of rowdy kids queue up. Kath spots Molly and gives her a friendly wave.
Miss Maguire, the new third-class teacher, delightful creature, natural beauty, and an absolute saint by all accounts. Now about school fashion show.
Oh, the state of me. Hardly model material.
Wait, I've big news. We've got our hands on an exclusive Tulip Murphy, a showcase piece.
A flicker of uncertainty passes over Sally Ann's face.
Tulip Murphy.
Apparently, Tulip's cousin plays badminton with Martine, a school board, Joyce's husband.
Who'll wear it?
Well, none of us have seen it yet. It's that exclusive. Tulip sent on photos. Her style is so eclectic. We won't decide until we see it.
Sally Ann looks uneasy and Molly touches her arm.
You'll be fabulous in the show. We won't be able to tell you from the teenagers.
Sally Ann digests these words. Slowly and purposefully, she puts on her sunglasses, pushing them tight to the ridge of her nose. Exterior, pitch Rosslare village, moments later. Sally Ann walks across the field, lugging the hamper. She sees a group of local men all swarming around Kath. She spies Robbie in the middle of the group. He's laughing. She slows for a moment, watching. Interior, sitting room, Stafford House, night. Sally Ann is curled up on the couch in fancy loungewear, supping sparkling wine. She's surrounded by beauty industry magazines and hordes of free beauty samples. She rummages through various product samples. She pulls out a sample vial for a new Botox product, stares at it, then quietly admonishing herself, keeps rummaging. She pulls out a box called Magic Plasters.
The humble plaster that will revolutionise your life.
Sally Ann's phone beeps. On her phone screen, we see she's tagged in a video. It's an edited clip of the egg and spoon race showing her being pulled by the sales tag over and over. Wincing, Sally Ann scrolls through the comments section. The sales tag, cringe. Desperate housewife rule 101, don't get caught wardrobing in public. Can see the headline, daughter catches man or new Lulus. Sally Ann scrolls up, zooms in on the words housewife, then ma. She frowns. They make her sound so old. Interior sitting room, Stafford House, night, later. Sally Ann stands at the fireplace staring into the mirror. She prods at the skin around her eyes and her forehead. She leans right in, peers closely at the barely visible lines around one eye, her crow's feet, then the other eye. Gradually, we see the lines moving, creeping. Then they appear to get wider and deeper, more cavernous, each carving out distinct U-shaped valleys, joining like spider webs around her eyes. She steps backwards and swigs her wine. Interior sitting room, Stafford House, night, later. Sally Ann lies on the couch. Her face and neck are covered in large facial plasters with only her eyes and mouth visible. She resembles a burn victim. The TV is on now and the volume is low. Sally Ann stares at it mindlessly. She picks up her phone. On her phone screen, we see her type Kath Maguire into Instagram and view Kath's profile. Sally Ann begins to flick through the photos. Lots of Kath enjoying the outdoors, fresh-faced with no makeup. Sally Ann zooms in hard on Kath's face, her big eyes, her clear, natural, blemish-free skin. Sally Ann chucks the phone down and presses very hard multiple times on the plaster on her forehead. She picks up the wine bottle and turns it upside down to pour the remains into her glass. The bottle is empty. Frustrated, she sits back. She turns the TV volume up. Her eyes fall on the hamper and the cans of hard seltzer. Interior sitting room, Stafford House night little later. Sally Ann bops gently to music. The contents of the hamper have been rifled through. The empty bottle of sparkling wine and empty cans of hard seltzer lie scattered around the room. It's clear Sally Ann's drunk a lot. Her alcoholic buzz long kicked in. The timer on her phone beeps loudly. From the phone, we hear...
It's time to remove your magic plasters. Gently tug at the red corner of the plaster and it will peel away easily.
Sally Ann leans in towards the mirror over the fireplace.
Okay, babies, now show this desperate housewife what you've got.
Roughly, Sally Ann whips off the facial plaster from below her eyes. She leans in, attempts to examine her crow's feet.
What the? Like literally the same as before.
She pulls the skin taut, then releases her hands.
Remember, only leave your plasters on for 30 minutes.
Sally Ann reaches for a can of hard seltzer, shaking the remaining drops into her open mouth.
Thank you for trying our patented skin tightening plasters. We're excited to hear your feedback. Tap the button to leave a review.
Oh, lads, your revolutionary plasters are shite.
She collapses onto the couch. Interior sitting room, Stafford House night later. Sally Ann lies on the couch, snoring gently. Facial plasters are still stuck to her nose, cheeks, chin and neck. The plasters pull at her taut skin, making her face look misshapen. Robbie stumbles into sitting room, steaming drunk. He sits on the end of the couch and stares at his wife's face in drunken confusion.
Jesus Christ. What have you done to yourself now?
Robbie's head droops. He sighs. After a moment, he tries to gather himself, and he reaches for a blanket and then gently puts it over Sally Ann. Then he slides on the floor, leans against the couch, burps, head droops again, and he closes his eyes. They're both comatose.
Great stuff, guys. Thanks very much. Next, Against the Grain by Margaret Hawkins is the story of a woman, Alice Maguire, who spent much of her life and energy trying to keep the farm afloat, get Tom, her husband, and Andy, their estranged son, to bury the hatchet. After Tom is injured in a farm accident, things come to a head as son and father come face to face.
In this excerpt, a delighted Alice welcomes home her son Andy with his pregnant fiancée Jess after a 14 years absence. But unsurprisingly, his father Tom is nowhere to be seen.
Interior, barn. Tom is sitting on a stool, crutches beside him in the very organised barn. A place for everything and everything in its place. Taking meticulous care fitting a light on the vintage tractor that he is lovingly restoring. He concentrates even harder as Andy enters. Pause.
So, you're back.
Yes. How are you?
Been better.
Of course.
Andy looks around, remembering the good times, playing with wood-shaving tendrils, the smell of the grease gun, of apples and potatoes stored for the winter.
This place hasn't changed much.
Why would it?
I suppose.
Were there many on the boat?
Andy is a bit taken aback by the mundane question. Jesus, he hasn't seen him for years and he asks a question like that.
A good few, yeah. Easter holidays.
Aye.
You're doing a good job on this.
Something worth doing is worth doing well.
Yes. Ma'am has lunch ready. Jess and herself are chatting away.
Right.
We'd best head in. She's gone to trouble.
Tom puts away his tools and stands up with care.
Women for your life. Thinking tea and sweet cake will sort the world.
Andy bites his tongue, afraid that they'll get into an argument.
How's the leg now? Painful?
An absolute whore.
Andy smiles at the expression that he hasn't heard in a long time. Tom makes his way out through the door and across the yard, conscious of his son watching him, and of Alice and Jess watching from the garden gate. Alice links Jess and heads into the house. Andy closes the door and is uncomfortable as he follows his father, slowly, but tries to look as if he isn't. Interior Maguire's kitchen, short time later. Alice is clearing plates off the table. Andy and Jess pass them to her.
So how did you two romantics meet?
Tom doesn't answer, but he isn't disinterested. He was young once.
At a dance in the Doonwira Hall in Wexford town. He said I was the only one who could do a decent quick step.
Tom smiled slightly.
I never heard that.
There you go. You must have been very light on your feet.
He was. Is. Anyone for another piece? Jess?
Oh, thanks. I'm stuffed, honest.
Andy makes full signs too.
And you two? Andy? Never said how you met.
At an exhibition.
Ah. Tells me you ran out with the rain.
I did. I ran in out of the rain. I was so overcome by his manly charms that I stayed. Now, a friend of mine had heard about this Irish fella exhibitioning in Canary Wharf and dragged me along. And the rest, as they say.
Oh.
Pause.
I possess you to take up the nursing.
I always wanted to do it. No one was safe from bandaging in our house. Granny, Grandad, they'd be trussed up like turkeys if they stood still for a minute.
Everyone smiles.
So, was your father a farmer too?
Yes, his father before him and his father before that.
God, wasn't that lucky?
What do you mean?
That they were into it. I mean, that you've all liked it in each generation.
Andy and Alice are uneasy.
It was in the blood.
Of course.
Tom's a born farmer. Never wanted anything else.
That's obvious from the look of the place. More power. It's a credit to you. It must have been great, though, to like the career you were born into.
Andy is getting more uneasy.
Would every farmer's son around here be carrying on the tradition, so to speak?
A lot of them are. Not always the eldest nowadays, of course. Maybe the one that's drawn to it, which makes sense. Girls now, even, I'm glad to say.
Great. I suppose it doesn't really matter who farms a place, does it?
Huh?
As long as the land's cared for, loved. I mean, that's the important thing, isn't it? That the person's in tune with it.
Andy tries to catch Jess's eye to make her stop, but she keeps going.
That's how I knew I liked nursing. I never noticed the time passing when I was doing it. It's a dead giveaway, that, don't you think? Not noticing.
Yes, yes, it is.
You should see this fellow when he's in flow.
Andy looks a bit startled, thinking she is going to mention his recent dry period. Jess's smile reassures him.
He wouldn't hear a bomb going off when he's painting. I might as well not be there, but boy, does something good come out of it. Magic. Every time.
She winks at Andy.
He was always like that.
Are you like that? When you're ploughing or milking or at the mart or stuff like that? Totally absorbed?
He's exactly like that.
You know what? I will have another piece. It'll fortify me for all the work himself here will have me doing in the morning.
If I remember how.
Of course you will.
Tom looks at Andy with interest. Maybe his son will realise what he's been missing and decide to farm. He's hopeful. Interior Andy's old room, short time later. Andy carries suitcases in. The room has a double bed in it, now, but his teenage desk is still at the far side of the room by the window. He looks at the wall over the desk at his old posters and arty prints. He lifts out one of the dinky tractors and looks at it. He is remembering happily at first. He opens an old sketchbook and looks at yard scenes that he sketched in his leaving cert year. They are of his father at work. Walk on, bringing in the cows. Frosty morning, his father putting hay into a round feeder for calves. He touches the drawings and smiles briefly. He is trying to ground himself and remember the good times, but his face clouds now as bad memories of the row he had with his father the day he left home break through.
Arsing around town looking at fucking paintings when there's work to be done here.
Andy shuts his eyes to shake off the memory. It's a long time ago. Jess is at the bedroom door, watching him. He turns, realizing she is there.
You okay?
Fine.
Interior, exterior, Maguire's back kitchen, 7 a.m. the next day. Andy and Jess are putting on overalls and Wellington boots provided by Alice. Andy looks a bit groggy. He hasn't slept very well in his old room. Jess is laughing as she tries to get togged out.
It's a long time since I've seen you in overalls.
They're a bit big.
Here,
What's that?
the farmer's friend. Multi-purpose commodity. Now, are you sure you won't have something to eat? An army marches in its stomach and all that.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Well, if you're sure, but don't worry, I'll make it fry for 10 o'clock. Nothing like a rasher to keep you going.
Jess and Andy exchange secretive looks. Jess makes a face. Alice notices the look and suspects that Jess is pregnant.
Well, let's go. It's great to have a bit of help.
They leave the back kitchen. Exterior, farmyard. We follow them out through the yard to the milking parlour. Alice hits the buttons to start the milking machine. She already has the first cows in. A cock is growing and calves are bawling and Johnny is driving in. Jess is eyeing Andy in his overalls.
They suit you.
I won't get used to them.
First time I saw you, you were in overalls.
Yeah, spattered in paint, not in...
He walks through cowshite, trying to hide his distaste. Alice notices the look. Jess laughs.
Come on. It'll be like old times for you.
Yeah.
Lovely, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Casa Rio by Conor Martin tells the dark tale of hardened sex worker and opiate-dependent Imogen, shunned from her family home at an early age by her sociopath father. As her world becomes more undone around her, she gets an unexpected chance of revenge against crime boss and pimp Otto. Like everything, it will come at a price.
Having accidentally murdered an associate gangland crime figure and stealing a bundle of cash, Imogen is being pursued by crime boss Otto. She and her friend Desi hide out in the homeless shantytown of Trawlers Bay, where she is double-crossed and set upon by Desi's brother and his accomplice. Here she is, just waking up after the ordeal.
Interior, Desi's hut, Trawler Bay, night. Imogen's eyes burst open and she gasps for air. Imogen, breathing heavy, takes a moment. She runs her hand through her hair, wide-eyed and bewildered. She slowly drags herself to sit up, clutching her ribs. She tries to make sense of everything. Imogen crawls over to a disturbed floorboard where the money was situated. It's gone.
Oh, no. Fuck.
Imogen kicks the wall in anger and covers her face with her dirty hands. Imogen turns and crawls to the exit. Exterior, Trawlers Bay commune night continuous. Imogen rises up from Desi's hut to an illuminated landscape of fire pits and barrel bonfires to keep the commune warm. The area is quiet. The residents are keeping to themselves. Imogen hobbles over to Desi. The residents look on at the injured Imogen but do nothing to aid her. Desi still passed out and under the influence. Imogen boots him in the side, but he barely flinches. Instead, lets out a small, weakened groan.
You fool, Desi.
Imogen slumps down to the floor in front of a fire pit. She feels her side and squirms. She gets lost, staring into the flames, her eyes watery and bloodshot. There is movement behind her.
Hi.
Imogen looks around to see Eric's daughter standing behind her.
Hi.
Are you okay?
No, not really.
The girl sits down beside Imogen. Imogen closes her eyes and swallows hard. The girl hands a used bottle of water to Imogen.
Thanks.
Imogen unscrews the bottle and gulps it down without catching a breath. She wipes the excess away from her lips.
Where'd they go?
The girl says nothing, but looks uneasy.
Where?
Got in the car and drove off.
Oh, shit.
A beat.
What's your name?
Beth,
What age are you, Beth?
12. You?
I'm Imogen.
Imogen slowly pulls herself over to Desi. She looks at his face for a moment and gives him a kiss on the cheek.
When he comes to, tell him I'm sorry I had to go.
A beat.
Do yourself a favour, Beth, and get yourself as far away as possible from here, especially now.
There's nowhere else for me to go. This has been my home.
Imogen looks at Beth with slight concern. Exterior, river, bank, knife. Beth throws rope at Imogen in the boat.
Thanks.
Imogen places the rope behind her.
Remember what I said?
She yanks on the cord a couple of times before the engine fires up. Imogen steers herself back into the bright lights of Loch Gorman town. Covers some distance in the boat before she glances back to see Beth stood in the same position, gazing back out to her. Cut to exterior, Loch Gorman town, night. Imogen stands underneath the towering Commodore John Barry monument and waits to cross the road from oncoming traffic. Misty fog slowly descends upon the quayfront. She crosses the road toward a car park. Exterior townhouse street, Loch Gorman, night. Imogen stands by a street pole looking into a warmly lit townhouse. Her bloodshot eyes survey the building from window to window. Imogen sees the figure of a man throwing on a hat and a coat. The front door opens. Imogen becomes startled and moves slightly behind a wall. A middle-aged man exits the house and he feels the cold and tightens his collar and disappears down a side street. Imogen makes her move over to the house. She puts her hand into her pocket and takes out a key. She looks at it with hesitation. Imogen looks around and lets herself in. Interior townhouse, night, continuous. Gingerly, Imogen descends up a flight of stairs. As she does so, she hears the sound of medical equipment buzzing, beeping, and the hissing of a ventilator apparatus. Imogen slowly clutches a door handle and enters. Interior townhouse, master bedroom, night, continuous. An old, frail woman lay in the bed. Madeline Daly, mid-50s. Her eyes closed with a tube coming from her mouth. The room unkempt and dimly lit. Imogen is overwhelmed by the sight.
Ma'am, what has he done to you?
Imogen moves closer to the bed and sits down beside her.
I don't know if you can hear me,
A beat.
but I'm sorry for all this, what I caused you. If I hadn't have gone and just stayed, stood up to him, then maybe,
Imogen drops her head.
well, maybe none of this would have happened.
Imogen scans the heavy machinery around her mother. The life support machine chimes with her mother's vitals. The ventilator ushers in fresh carbon dioxide. Imogen notices her mother's lips are dried and flaky. She leaves the room for the ensuite and comes back out with a damp cloth. Imogen approaches her mum and squeezes the damp cloth, expelling droplets onto her parched lips. Madeline's closed eyelids move from underneath. Imogen leans into her mother's ear and whispers something, and she then stands up. Madeline's feeble hand catches Imogen and squeezes it slightly. A tear rolls down Imogen's cheek, and she slightly smiles. The bedroom door is pushed open furiously.
You! What did I tell you?
It's Imogen's father, Dr. Edmund Daly, late 50s, scrawny looking. Cut to exterior Imogen's family home night continuous. Imogen is ragdoll out the front door and shoved to the ground. She falls heavily and awkwardly. Her phone slides onto the tarmac. Imogen shrieks in discomfort as she clutches her damaged ribs.
I told you once before, Imogen. Do you want to finish her off? Do not come round here again, or I won't be responsible for what I do.
A beat.
You don't exist.
Edmund furiously slams the door. Imogen, in pain and upset, stares up at the moon and the passing clouds. Her phone rings. Imogen reaches over and puts the phone to her ear.
Where?
Exterior bandstand, Loch Gorman, night. Imogen exits a lane and approaches the town's bandstand. In the centre of it is a figure of a man, standing, waiting. The man lights up a cigarette and moves closer to the railing, but is still obscured by the darkness. As Imogen approaches the bandstand and walks past another missing persons poster attached to a wall, it reads, "Have you seen this person, Cynthia MacDonald? Last seen 12:30 a.m., 13th of the 4th, 2019, wearing a blue dress, navy bag, white jacket, and plimsolls. Please contact local Garda with any further information." A car quickly turns the corner and shines its headlights on the man. It's Conan. Imogen saunters towards him.
Imogen,
Conan,
what the fuck happened to you?
Imogen ignores the question.
what do you want?
Conan comes down the steps to Imogen. Imogen, hesitant, steps back a little.
I've nothing against you. Why would I?
Because you work for that piece of shit.
Conan reaches out and puts his hand on Imogen's shoulder.
I'm not for any of this, We go back, don't we?
Imogen relaxes a little.
And what about your brother?
He's a company man, ain't he? Regardless, he gets his orders and follows them.
Imogen ponders.
Why am I here, Conan?
A beat. Conan looks uneasy with thought.
I'll get you out of here.
Oh, let me guess. You want the money.
Not all of it.
Imogen sniggers.
I don't have it. It was taken.
What?
It was taken. You're too late. You're always too late.
You'll go after your ma. Where is it?
Imogen looks worried.
I don't have it.
There's a silence between both of them. A car turns quickly around a building and both become alert. It's no one. Imogen takes out her phone. The battery's dead.
Shit.
A beat.
Give me your phone for a minute.
Conan reluctantly hands over his mobile.
Code.
A beat.
0070.
Imogen unlocks it and dials in a number. She puts the phone to her ear and waits. There is no answer. Conan is standing near the street's traffic lights. Imogen holds out his phone to hand back.
Make sure he doesn't go to my mum's.
The amber light
Promise me.
The amber light shines brightly behind him. The green traffic light flicks on and shines bright behind Conan. Out of nowhere and in a blink of an eye, Conan is taken quickly and forcefully out of sight, leaving a cloud of red mist in his wake. Imogen is knocked to the floor with the impact, banging her head off the ground. Droplets of blood cover Imogen. A knife falls from Conan's coat, dropping in front of Imogen. Imogen shakes herself off a little, but her vision is slightly compromised from the fall. Blood drips down from her wound sustained on her forehead. The traffic light turns red, illuminating the area. Imogen hears a struggle until there is no more. Blood splatter hits the floor. In among the shadows, Conan gargles and wheezes his last breath. Silence shrouds the area. Then, footsteps emerge towards Imogen.
Really nicely read. That was lovely.
And finally, last but by no means least, we come to Thorns by Fabia Evans. Here, fell-tempered, wheelchair-bound Rose arrives at her brother Mick and his wife Fiona's house for a family dinner, along with her new carer, Lena. The already strained affair becomes further inflamed by the arrival of an unexpected guest, Rose's estranged son, Sean. Embittered by past betrayals and buried traumas that are surging to the surface, Rose attempts to cut her family out of her life in a bid to shield herself from further pain. Only her carer Lena perseveres, softening her enough to a meeting with her estranged son. But will this sudden showing of vulnerability be her downfall?
In this excerpt, Rose and her carer Lena have just arrived to Mick and Fiona's for dinner, and tensions are already running high.
Interior living area, Mick and Fiona's, continuous. Fiona has already poured herself another glass of wine, sipping, tensely. The trio enter the room. Fiona hops to her feet, forcing a taut grin.
Well, Rose, how are you?
Rose shrugs her off.
Fiona, this is...
Lena, nice to meet you.
She's Rose's new carer, Fee. I told her she could have dinner with us.
Fiona offers a weak smile.
The more the merrier. Anyone like a drink?
Water, please.
Rose is eyeing the bottle of wine on the table.
What's this now? Some cheap shite from Aldi, is it?
Fiona's smile twitches.
Would you like a glass, Rose?
Well, I don't want poisoning. I have enough troubles with me bowels as it is. It's all yous have.
Do you know, I think we've a nice bottle of Bordeaux in the pantry there, Rose. Just give me 1 second, yeah.
Silence descends as Mick vacates the room. Rose eyeballs Fiona, smirking spitefully. Fiona stubbornly refuses to meet her gaze, a frozen smile etched on her face. Lena clears her throat loudly.
You have a lovely home.
Thank you, Lena. Well, Mick and I are happy with it.
Fiona shoots Rose a preemptive glance, steeling herself, though primed for a retort. Rose merely raises an eyebrow. Mick reappears, bearing wine and water.
Thank you.
No bother at all, Lena. How's this one for you, Rose?
Rose nods, unenthusiastic. She starts to cough wretchedly. Mick winces.
So, how have you been since we last spoke?
Rose shrugs, clearing her throat as she rifles through her handbag.
Same as always.
She pulls out her cigarettes and lighter. Fiona stiffens. Rose pops one in her mouth, holding the lighter close.
No, look, you know this is a non-smoking house.
Yeah, Rose, probably isn't a good idea, you know, up at the...
Rose shoots him a filthy look, eyes wide with warning.
You know, Fiona's right, this is... You shouldn't be smoking in the house.
Rose rolls her eyes, sighing exaggeratedly. She cocks a finger at Lena. Lena jumps to her command, wheeling Rose's chair towards the door.
Oh, and please watch the flower beds this time. They're very delicate.
Rose ignores her. The front door closes and Fiona exhales dramatically, shaking her head at Mick.
Fiona.
That woman is going to put me in an early grave. She's going to hit the roof, Mick.
She might have first, but...
She's going to hit the roof. Jesus Christ, what are we doing?
Fiona pours herself another wine and proceeds to down it. Mick winces. Exterior, Mick and Fiona's house, evening. Lena is scrolling on her phone, shivering from the cold. Rose smokes. Her eyes drift to the flower beds and she smirks as she flicks the cigarette. Interior, living area, Mick and Fiona's house, evening. Everyone seated at the table. There's an awkward silence.
Lena, how long have you been working as a carer then?
Oh, just 1 year. I worked in Dublin before here.
So what brought you to Wexford?
I have children. I wanted them to grow up in the country.
Oh, you have children. How old are they then?
3 and...
Oh, Jesus, don't get her started. Sick of hearing about those children. When's dinner?
Such a shame some people don't have a maternal bone in their body.
Rose's expression clouds with rage, fists clenching. Fiona looks instantly regretful.
And some people have a lot to say about subjects they'll never have any concept of.
What?
Lads.
The doorbell rings, slicing through the furious tension. Mick looks towards the door and back to the table. He's nervous.
Jesus, who's this now? Don't tell me you've ordered a bloody takeaway for dinner yet. What's the excuse this time? Oven on the blink?
Fiona's momentary anger has been swiftly retaken by nerves. She knocks back the dregs of her glass of wine.
I've told you before, I'm not dragging myself out all this way if neither of you can be bothered cooking a bloody meal.
No, it's not. No. Fiona's after doing a lovely meal, you know.
Fiona reaches for another top-up. Her hands are shaking. Rose notices. The doorbell rings again and Mick rises to his feet.
We've another guest joining us this evening, Rose.
Oh,
Fiona sips silently, shooting an anxious glance at Mick. Mick leaves the room. Sounds of greeting at the front door. Mick re-enters, followed by a young man, Sean, in his early 30s. Rose is perplexed, squinting with uncertainty.
Well, look, I know it's been a long time for both of you, but
Hi, ma.
All the blood drains from Rose's face. The room is still.
what the fuck? Mick,
Rose, look, please, just try and stay calm here, yeah? I know this is a shock.
Don't blame Uncle Mick.
Fiona is still gulping wine, darting eyes wide and alert. Lena perturbed by the tension.
you brought him here.
Rose,
Nick's only trying to do the right thing.
Stay out of it.
Rose, just hear him out, yeah? He wants the chance to talk.
Rose's breathing spikes and she begins coughing again, reaching for her handbag.
Too little, too late.
But it's not. Not yet.
Rose jerks. Mick falters, clearing his throat.
I just meant...
He told me.
An excruciating silence falls. Rose's expression darkens, teeth gritted. Fiona hiccups.
That's why I wanted to see you again.
Rose, look, you can't hold the past against him like this. You know, he was just a boy.
Take me home.
No, don't take her home.
Sure, let her on.
Can't you just wait, like, even for 5 minutes?
Rose, please. Let's just all take a breath here.
Sure, who be wanting to look at that scowl all night? Lad only want to talk because of the cancer.
Fiona!
Another silence. Fiona appears suitably embarrassed. Mick is mortified.
I said, take me home.
Lena jumps to her feet.
Wait, just hold on.
Lena hesitates, looking between Sean and Mick and back to Rose.
Who pays your wages, girl?
Lena swiftly wheels Rose out, pausing briefly by the door.
Thank you for the water and.
Move.
Lena scurries away, pushing Rose out of the room. The front door slams closed, leaving the three remaining to regard one another regretfully.
Thank you. So that's all of our 8 writers, and what we'd like to do is we'd like to invite the 8 writers to come down to the front of the stage here, and if you'd like to ask them any questions, we can have like a very quick Q&A about the course and what they've been working on over the last year. So just like to invite them all down here. Thank you.
Come on, guys, don't be shy.
Will they sit down here?
Should we let them sit down?
Yeah, we let them.
We can move.
Come on, I know you're all usually in your little rooms typing away. And all down. Could we please give a round of applause to our actors, by the way, who are really fabulous, really, really good. So we all here?
So Fabian's not here.
Okay. Could we please give a round of applause to the writers? They've been...
Sit down there, guys.
They've worked so hard over the last year and a half, and we've been taskmasters at times, and we've really, really pushed them. Nobody's dropped out. Nobody's stopped coming to us, and it's been a joy for us to actually work with them. So I'll hold on to the mic. If people want to, does anyone have a question? Would anyone like to ask the writers a question? Are you all really shy?
Surely there's one question.
Okay, that's okay.
Hang on, we got one.
Yeah, I just have a question. I guess it's for all of them. Did you discover something new from hearing it read out loud?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And I learned from everyone else's being read out as well. So I probably learned more from the other people's being read out. And I sort of took things away from it, saying, wow, that's excellent. That's a really nice way of describing something. Oh, sorry, that's a really nice way of describing something. Or, you know, that was a lovely turn, or just something I wasn't expecting. And yeah, I've found I found when they were reading it out, there was some lines that didn't work in my one, maybe, let's say, and I thought to myself, okay, there's a better way of phrasing that, or there's a beat before that should come in a little bit later. And the actors were amazing on the day, and even tonight again, that they really put a huge amount of effort into it and put intonation into it that I wouldn't even thought of in places. I said, oh, that actually works better the way they did it than I had actually thought.
Just to give a little bit of context there as well, that they've been working on this for the last year and developing it. So we're at the stage now where each of these writers that they've moved from training into professional development. So they're all now engaged in professional development of this TV series. So that means that they're actually working and paid as writers. So sorry, any more questions? Yeah, that'd be great.
Hi everyone, my name's Emma and I wrote Pamper Me.
Because you mightn't remember what all the names were, so Pamper Me was...
Oh, sorry, it's the one about the Botox and the plasters.
So my name is Roberto Forte and mine was Haven, so it was a science fiction one. It was the mother explaining to the daughter a little bit about her work.
I'm Margaret Hawkins and I wrote the farming one about Tom and Alice and the son. Rural-based, that's me.
Hi, I'm Abby Way and I wrote the one about the old man and the boy and the manipulation stuff going on.
Hi, I'm Chris O'Connor. I wrote Red Boots about the hit and run.
Hello, I'm Connor. I wrote Casario, and I know you're dearly wanting to know who took Conan out of it. It's a vampire. What can I say?
Hi, my name's Max. I wrote the one about the married couple who have lost their son.
So the question still stands, I guess, to everybody else of Marissa's question about did they learn anything. So just to give some context as well, last weekend, all of our amazing actors came down to Wexford on Saturday and Sunday, and then they had all of their, we had table reads and each of their scripts were read out loud. So that was a really good opportunity for the writers to hear their scripts for the first time, read by actors. And so if anyone else has something to say.
Yeah, I think it was a really useful exercise for me personally anyway, because there's a couple of things, obviously, as you go through the process, things get flagged, especially by, well, it's been Laura and Paul and Fiona that we've been referring to and from all this time. So it was great to get the kind of confirmation of the things that have been flagged. And so you can be a little bit less precious about killing some babies, which is a phrase that I've come to know only too well, so it's genocide at this point, but anyway. But yeah, it's been fantastic for that, so it just helps you to, kind of get over yourself a bit, in a way, be a little bit less precious. That's what I got from that anyway.
Anyone
else? What I got from it was purely really dialogue and what works and what don't work, and hearing the other writers, their work being talked and discussed or being read out, inspired me to come along to do my own and change things, make things better. So it was just an inspiring weekend, and to hear the lads or the actors, it was just insightful, really, and you can really hear what works and doesn't work. So yeah, can I just give a big shout out to Laura Way, Fiona Kinsella, and Paul Walker. Superstars.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Any more questions? One more question?
One question. Hang on, I'll come up to you. Sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid it's not a question, it's an observation. And that is that it's been like kind of bedtime story for all of us sitting out here in the audience. And I'm just hoping that the beds have all been prepared upstairs for us, and we get a glass of milk and a biscuit and have a nice good sleep. But apart from that, it's just been really wonderful. It's been like story time. It's wonderful actually seeing everybody working and seeing the results of everybody's work. And the initiative just is absolutely mind-blowing, from the talk at the beginning to everything that's happening here now. So thank you to everybody that put this together, because it's unique in my experience, and I hope we'll see a lot more of it. Thank you very much.
Laura? Okay, so I think we all need a drink, don't we? I'd just like to... Yeah?
Just want to say one... Sorry. Oh, yeah, do you want to add?
Well, not if we're all drinking, but yes, I did have a question. Do you want to say what you want to say first?
What? Please, no, you go first, please.
My question was actually which Irish screenwriters you've been influenced by. Who have you admired? Or maybe open it up, screenwriters, but I'd be interested if there was contemporary Irish screenwriters that you admire, but beyond that.
Very quickly, after just seeing, the Banshee of Inisharan there recently again, I was asking Gary about working at McDonagh, and that was one, I must say, it was a slow burner for me, but by the end of it I came out inspired. Like, he is actually an amazing writer as well, so that one for me at the moment, and being, Irish as well helps, yeah.
Laura Way. Well, I mean, but you have written them. Not bona fide.
The main, well, there's lots of international ones, but for me, the main Irish writer would probably be Ronan Bennett. He wrote, he writes Top Boy, and I think he's very good.
Okay, so we're definitely getting thirsty now, right? Can I just say, Al and James and Catherine, who've been working behind the scenes all day today and have put this together like that, and it's been so smooth. Al, James, and Catherine. It is Catherine, isn't it?
Katie.
Kate. Well. And Catherine. I just want to say thanks. The way you worked today was absolutely incredible, and it was so relaxing to be with you, so we really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And also just to say a big thank you to Aisling in the National Opera House here, and to Liz Burns and Liz Hoare for their amazing work in Screen Wexford. Al is absolutely incredible as well. He's a wonderful coordinator, and Fiona Kinsella and everybody at the Women in Film and Television have done a great job as well to get all these great speakers down here today. So we're very lucky.
There we are. Now, Thomas More for drinks. Yeah. Okay, we'll all go to Thomas More and have a few drinks, and we can have chats and talks, and we can discuss how brilliant the writers and the actors were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
thanks
very
guys.
much.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night. God bless.